Hey, what up everyone, this is Mondo All Day, back with another video, and in this video, I'll be doing a build guide for Cable. I'll be going over which artifacts to use, medallions, uniques, as well as go over the powers, talents, and traits, the hero synergies, and at the very end, show you my rotation, kind of give you some tips and pointers as far as how I was able to pass Cosmic Trial with Cable without using any Infinity Points. So yeah, let's get right into it. So the first thing we're going to look at is his artifacts. The first one is Crossbone's Legion Credentials. I'm using this for the critical hit rating, the damage rating to range powers and melee powers, as well as to the +3 energy and brutal strike rating. You definitely want this, well, I use this artifact for the +3 energy because Cable is mainly fighting and energy based. And so his attributes are fighting energy, and this grants me +3 energy, and plus it gives me damage to melee and range powers, since he is a hybrid character. Then I'm using Mayhem Demon Blood. I'm using this for the health increase, damage rating to melee powers, and also when you get 10 stacks, you gain +2 fighting. Again, it's very useful because he is energy and fighting base, so that's really good for him. Then I'm using Scrollex Medallion. This grants me health increase, power duration increase, +1 energy. But also when you hit with an area power, you harness a power Cyclops, which increases your area damage. And when you hit with a mental power, you harness the power of Psylocke, which grants you mental damage rating. And when both procs are activated, you gain +2 fighting. So this is really good for him because he is not only has area powers, but also he's mental power based. So most likely he's gonna be granting that +2 fighting. So then I'm using Cyclops was right t-shirts. I'm using this for the base damage increase to bosses, not so much for the +3 intelligence, but also for the the damage rating to area powers, recover for spirit when you hit, and +3 energy. So again, this is a really good artifact for him, even though he's not really intelligence based, but having extra intelligence, because intelligence grants you critical damage rating. So having that extra critical damage rating, is very useful. And last but not least is Kevlar Plated Helmet. I'm using this for the critical hit rating to range attacks, because again, he's a hybrid, so you can do both melee and range. Deflect rating increase, but also when you critically hit, you gain 5 fighting, so that's really good. For the Forge, I have mental damage rating, and I have a blessed to where I gain 400 defense rating, 400 health, and +1 durability. So I might change it in the future, I'm not too sure yet, but for now this is pretty decent. I'm using this for the durability, that way increase my health, and obviously for the defense and health rating, since this is a melee build, so I want that defense and health to go up. And for the legendary, I'm using Gungnir. This grants me critical hit rating, critical damage rating, and so forth. So it's not too bad, and it's a legendary 70, excuse me. For the ring, I'm using Industrial City Ring. This grants me attack speed to mental powers, health increase, critical hit rating to mental attacks, critical damage rating, and when you hit with a mental power, gain damage rating increase. And then for uniques, these are all his uniques. As you can see here, these are all his uniques. Some do have challenge bonuses. I think all of them do. So keep that in mind, but overall, these are all of his uniques. For the costume, and let you guys see it, I am using Cable War Baby Costume. Catalyst, I have it to where I increase my health increase and regenerate 25% of your health and 100 spare when you use a health kit, +2 energy, and then crafted affixes, critical damage rating as always. Insignia, I'm using Insignia of Pytropus and blah blah blah, whatever you call it, everyone to say it or whatever. But this insignia grants me when you hit with any power, you and your allies gain damage rating to melee powers and defense rating increase. But also this increases the brutal damage rating, and I gained 62 spirit, so that's pretty good, especially at brutal damage rating. And for the pet, I have it to where I take 2% less damage from enemy melee powers, spirit increase, base damage to mental damage, and when you use the signature power, gain 1000 maximum health for 10 seconds, and then +2 fighting. And for team up, I am using Arachne. Alright, that's that. Now let's get into the powers. Again, I'm going to go from top to bottom, left to right in terms of which powers I used. So, Phase Magnum, Scimitar Sweep, none of these here, Scimitar Slam, Scimitar Thrust, Signature, which is 4 Insight Bomb, Eye for the Weakness, Scimitar Slice, Swift Lunge, and that's all. You get talents and traits towards the end. Infinity points, 0, as you can see. No infinity points were used. Like hero synergies, I might have to redo this, but for now, this is what I use for Cosmic Trowel. I use Cable for the critical hit multiplier increase, Dr. Doom for the signature power damage increase, Doctor Strange for the mental damage increase, Ghost Rider for the critical hit rating multiplier to mental powers, Hawkeye for the move speed and critical damage, Human Torch for the area damage increase, Nightcrawler for the melee damage increase, Rogue for the health on hit, Spirit on hit, Skrullo for the damage to bosses, and then Wolverine for the brutal strike and brutal damage rating. So not too bad. Now let's go into the talents and traits. For the first row, I use Cyclone. I use this talent because what this does is it grants me more damage to Scimitar Sweep, which is this one right here. I'll show you how it looks like. So what this does is this talent, Cyclone, the Scimitar Sweep makes enemies vulnerable. The damage is increased by 150%. It has a cooldown of 8 seconds, but it also increases the Scimitar power damage by 10%. So it increases the damage tremendously. I do get a buff, and there's this talent grants me cooldown to this specific power. And the good thing about this, when you activate Scimitar Sweep, damage is increased by 50% directly struck by Scimitar. So again, it's really good for him. I was originally going to use well, never mind. I'll discuss it with it towards the end. But anyways, second row is I'm using Kinetic Repulsion. When enemies enter melee range, trigger a Kinetic Repulse. Apply guarded to allies while you are in combat. Kinetic Repulse increases your mental damage. Again, there's a cooldown, kind of irrelevant, and then buff effect, base health increased by 10%. So basically, since this is a melee build, most likely you're going to be close combat with the enemy, so this is really good because, again, apply guarded to allies while you are in combat, and also too, when enemies enter melee range, again, this is a melee build, you trigger Kinetic Pulse, and again, most like it's going to be given that this buff is going to be granted all the time because this is a melee. So the third row is I'm using Impelling Thrust. What this talent does is Scimitar Slice no longer costs any spirit and is considered a basic, which is this one right here. Okay, but also what this does is Scimitar Thrust damage is increased by 250%, which is tremendous amount. It has a cooldown of 8 seconds, and then Scimitar power damage is just 10%. Very similar to the first one, Cyclone, but this grants more power to Scimitar Thrust, which is this one right here. So again, it's really good for melee. Fourth row is Scimitar Expert. Foresight Bomb, which is a signature, is now considered a Scimitar power. Scimitar Slam gains the following effects: power damage 25%, duration 10 seconds. So Scimitar Slam, which I'll show you how it looks like, gets a buff as well too. According to this, it gets a power damage increase, Scimitar power damage to 25% for 10 seconds. So that's really good. And again, you get your damages increased by 25% for 10 seconds. A Scimitar power. So meaning any powers you use that are Scimitar, basically as melee powers, you're going to get an increase in damage by 25% for 10 seconds. So that's really good. And it's good especially for signature. Because according to this talent here, Foresight Bomb is not considered a Scimitar power. And so kind of give you a little hint here what my rotation is going to be like. But anyways. And then the fifth row is I use Lethal Lunge. Swift Lunge makes enemies weakened. Swift Lunge deals additional damage over time. Scimitar power damage 10%. The Swift Lunge is his movement power. So now when he does it makes enemies weakened, plus deals additional damage over time. So that's really good. And that is all in terms of the talents and traits. Now the rotation, it's really simple. It's not even, it's very similar to my other, actually it's identical to my Cable build, which I did previously before the biggest update, but again, I'll go over it. Now the way they have the power set up, again, it's pretty simple. Phase Magnum, Scimitar Slice, I have for the weakness, Scimitar Sweep, Thrust, Slam, Signature, and then Movement. Just to get 2 things out the way. Phase Magnum, honestly, I don't never really use this. Oh, actually, yeah, I don't really use this. I'll go over towards the end. I'll give another tip, but I don't really use this. But this is my basic. And then Scimitar Slice, I use this. This is like my main power. This is the basic, and it doesn't consume any spirit. So again, once you're low on spirit, just use Scimitar Slice, and you get that. And plus, 50% to enemy, 50% more damage to enemies directly struck by the scimitar. So again, the damage is increased by 50% when you use Scimitar power due to the fact of all these traits here grant you, all these talents grant you buffs. So keep that in mind. And the last thing is, again, simple. Eye for the weakness. Activate this whenever you can. What this does is it adds vulnerability to enemies, meaning that your damage is increased by 35% from your powers. And then it will also weaken enemies, meaning that enemies deal 35% less damage to Cable. The duration is 6 seconds, which is not long, but it's really, really good because, again, it increases your damage to enemies, especially for bosses like Red Skull and Madam Hydra. Activate this on them is really, really good, especially combining with Scimitar Slam, but I'll go into that in a bit. So again, these are the powers that I use. I rarely use Phase Magnum. Scimitar Slice is my main power, and then whenever Eye for the weakness is available, activate it right away. So my rotation, it's really simple. It's going to be the easiest one probably that I've ever made to my knowledge, but simple. So once you get close range, all you do is activate Scimitar Sweep, Thrust, and then Scimitar Slam, and then Basic. Now obviously what you want to do is activate Eye for the weakness again, so that way your damage is increased by 35%. So again, the rotation is really simple. It's Sweep, Thrust, and Slam. Obviously you want to activate Eye for the weakness. So I'm going to show you how it looks like with activating Eye for the weakness, then the first rotation with my basic power. Just like that. Very, very, very simple. Okay, very simple rotation. Now, how do I incorporate my first rotation with Signature? Again, it's really, 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 really simple. One of the things that I would do is when you're going to activate Signature, and again, do keep this in mind, when you activate Signature, it does a lot of damage, but it does take up some time for it to actually activate. Now I believe it's 3 seconds or 4 seconds. According to this, it's 3 seconds, and that's important to know. So when you're going to start using when you're going to activate your Signature, my advice is make sure all your powers, not all of them, but make sure the Scimitar Slam is not in cooldown, because again, according to the talent and according to this power, you get a buff according to this talent right here. Lethal Lunge. Is it Lunge? I think. I think it's this one right here. Sorry. Scimitar Expert. When you have this talent activated, Scimitar Slam gains the following effects. It gains a buff of 25% more damage for 10 seconds before Foresight Bomb, which is Signature, is considered a scimitar. So with that said, what you want to do is including, how do you include your first rotation with Signature? Simple. Activate Signature and then activate Scimitar Slam. That way you get that Scimitar Slam buff of 25% more damage to Scimitar powers. So when the Signature is activated, boom, you get that 25% more damage. Now, if you can, try to incorporate Eye for the weakness. Okay, it's going to be kind of hard because you got to do all this stuff really quickly, but it is very doable. So one of the first things I would do is activate. I'll show you what I mean. So activate Scimitar Slam because the buff is 10 seconds. So I activate Scimitar Slam, Eye for the weakness, and then Foresight Bomb. So let me show you what it looks like. Okay, why? Because when you activate Scimitar Slam, you get that buff of 25% to Scimitar powers for 10 seconds. If you activate Eye for the weakness, enemies get vulnerability, which means the 35% damage from your powers is increased. And when you activate Signature right away, you're gonna get basically the buff from these two granted, so that when the signature is activated, your damage is increased tremendously. Now this is just me doing it right now. You can just imagine the amount of damage the signature would do with getting Scimitar Slam buff, Eye for the Weakness buff, as well as Kevlar Plated buff, the 10 stack from Mayhem Demon Blood, and the list goes on and on and on. So you can just imagine the amount of damage the signature is gonna increase. So again, just in short, to kind of wrap this up, really simple. Make sure if you don't have Eye for the Weakness available, that's fine. Just make sure that these two, Scimitar Slam and Foresight Bomb, always go together, because you want Scimitar Slam's buff of 25% to go with the Foresight Bomb. And it's simple. Just activate, boom, signature, and then do the rotation, and then boom. And see what I mean? That way, when you do your when the signatures gets activated, the power, you get that extra 25% buff from this power here, Scimitar Slam. And that's it. Again, this is really simple, really simple build, very basic, not too complex. He is strong. Personally, I would recommend him if you're a newer player and you want kind of a very laid back melee build. I think Cable is really good. He's very simple. Again, this is literally my rotation. I've even played this rotation with Ultron, still managed to do well. So again, this is a really good rotation. It's simple, it's basic, but it's still good. I have tried his range. His range is pretty good too. You usually have to change some of his talents. One thing that I would say that I would change personally, what I would do is I would switch, instead of using Phase Magnum, I would switch Scimitar Slice to my left click button on my mouse, and then probably use this one right here, Vortex Grenade, as a replacement to Phase Magnum. Oops. Because what this does is Vortex Grenade not only does it do decent damage, but also it pulls enemies towards the center of the effect. So meaning when you activate Vortex Grenade, wherever you activate it, it's going to pull the enemies in. So if you activate it right here, right on Cable, enemy's going to pull us towards you, so that way you can do more, do your rotation and get the full effect. Either that or basically any power. I mean, you can use, I would say just use any cooldown power. It can be the bomb, Vortex Grenade. It can be, I'm trying to think of another one. The Barrier. It can be Haze. It can be whatever it is. I would say just use a power that has a cooldown. Like, I'm trying to think of a good one. No, that's not it. Oh, that's actually fine. That way, look, you activate it, and you can just do your rotation. And then activate it again, and just do your rotation. Whatever it is. And there you go, almost 500,000 right there. And again, that's my recommendation. I'm going to be doing that, so I'm going to be no longer be using Phase Magnum, and I'm going to be using probably, well, most likely another power. I'm considering Pulse Rifle, because this one grants critical and brutal damage rating is increased by 40%. So to me, that's really good. So whenever I'm doing melee, or if I have lower health, all I do is just step away and just use my Pulse Rifle to do damage, and that way you can regenerate health. And yeah, that's it, you guys. Again, this is my build guide for Cable. Again, very simple, pretty straightforward. Hopefully this build guide was helpful for you guys for Cable. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. Any requests for certain characters, leave them in the comment section below. My next character will be Juggernaut. As far as when, I know for sure it'll be next week. I'm not too sure, either Monday or Wednesday, but most likely it'll be next week, Juggernaut, and then the week after most likely it'll be Rogue. I do have another character lined up that I'm going to be doing, Cosmetron build guide. But yeah, any requests for certain characters, leave it in the comment section below. If this video was helpful for you guys for Cable and building Cable, leave it in the comment section below, because I'm always want to hear some feedback. I know some people give me advice on certain characters, like certain things, certain talents, and I'm all open. And again, keep in mind, I'm not like an expert, or this is not the best build for a high DPS. This is just a build that I was able to do, utilize this build to pass Cosmetron with no infinity points. To me, this is a decent build that you can do pretty well. I would say it's somewhat in game, But again, it's really up to you guys. But yeah, kind of going off sidetrack. But again, any requests, leave it in the comment section below. Any comments, if this video was helpful, leave it in the comment section below. If you want to be up to date with my channel, or if you want to support the channel, do subscribe to my channel, because not only does it help the channel grow, but it means a lot to me as well too. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, this is my build guide for Cable. Simple, straightforward. To me, it's fun, and hopefully you guys enjoy it too. Alrighty, on to the next one. Bye bye.